late controversy in this game. Brighton awarded a late penalty, converting it to see Liverpool drop points. Frank Leboeuf and Craig Burley with us. Craig, let's start with that penalty. Was it a pen?
I have to say I think so, purely because he struck him. He clearly kicked the boot. And you know, as people might say, well, it was a bit soft and Welbeck didn't go down for a while. At the end of the day, he fouled him. And when the referee was instructed to go to the monitor, he made his mind up within seconds. And I think it was so clear to him. And it was just a bit of a wild swing from Andy Robertson. And the way the game is refereed these days, then I think the referee had no choice but to give a penalty.
Frank?
Yeah, I agree. On the time of Craig and myself, of course, and especially in England, you wouldn't have seen a penalty, that's for sure. The ref would have said play on. But nowadays, it's completely clear. If you kick the player without touching the ball, it's a pen. And it's what happened to Robertson. He missed the ball, kicked Welbeck's foot. Welbeck went late on the floor, but still, he missed the ball and he touched Welbeck's foot. So, penalty.
Liverpool, of course, had a couple of goals disallowed in this game. Craig, is what transpired over the match a concern for them going forward with regards to the defence of their title?
No, I mean, obviously, the big story really has not so much been Liverpool dropping points, but once again, Jurgen Klopp's reaction and the unfortunate injuries that he picked up again, and as a consequence of the condensed fixture list and other things that he's not happy about. He made some decisions again that, you know, Sadio Mane would be on the bench. We saw him rest some players against Atalanta in midweek. It didn't work. So clearly he's trying to juggle all these different balls at the moment. And it's not easy. But it's not easy for every manager. The bottom line here is Liverpool in fits and starts played okay, but for long periods didn't play well. You know, Brighton had 2 penalties, one in which they scored, one in which they missed. Connolly, who was excellent in the first half, was running in behind time and time again and missed a one-on-one. So Brighton were a real threat here. And, you know, I think the other thing is with the VAR, IFAB, and I know they were meeting about offside this week through the video conferencing. The Mo Salah goal that was chopped off, I do think we really have to have a look at, this law has to be really defined into gaining an advantage. So we have to figure out, our IFAB have to figure out how they're going to best come up with a plan that's going to, that means with the technology that I know is there, is not going to be bringing it down to millimetres. Because that's what the Mo Salah one looked like, millimetres. That's not gaining an advantage. That's just micro-refereeing. And that's where IFAB, that's where the problem is for IFAB, Dan. They're going to have to figure something out. Otherwise, the technology is only going to improve and the decisions are only going to get tighter and tighter.
Let's talk about that post-match interview that Craig brought up, Frank. This was when Jurgen Klopp was asked about James Milner. He congratulated Des Kelly, who works for BT Sport, on basically Milner getting injured as a result of the game being early because of the television slot. They had an exchange of views. We've heard Klopp, of course, say quite a few times over the last few weeks that he's unhappy that his team plays on a Wednesday, then the early kickoff on a Saturday. Whose side are you on here?
I want to be on Jurgen Klopp's side because I think I understand that the broadcast, they want games every 2 hours to make sure that the viewers have many games to watch during the weekend, and that we clearly understand that. And it's only in England that I first played around 12 or 12:30, like it was the case today. And it's a real nightmare for the players. And in this season, especially with the pandemic, you have to make sure that all the players will be, you know, assisted in the best way and making sure that they have the time to wake up, to warm up, to get fit and prepared. And it's not the case. And I think Klopp just said that he was maybe clumsy talking to Des Kelly and explaining that it was his fault, where clearly, or the broadcast fault, where clearly it's the FA who decides what's going on, the EPL, sorry, who decides what's going on. So you have to make sure right now, because we see so many injuries, that we take care of the players. So maybe it means that you have to change something with the broadcast, with the hours you're gonna show to you're gonna show the games to the world. But I like the way Klopp said, because, you know, he faced everything. He said that the offside, nothing to say. It was a penalty, and I think he got annoyed a little bit with Des Kelly, who was asking question where he wanted to make sure that Klopp will go for a debate or some problems to the EPL, and it's why Klopp got crazy in a way and answered that and started that other debate with Des Kelly.
What do you think, Craig?
Dan, well, it was Sky Sports last week, and it was BT Sports, our partners at BT this week. And look, he is correct. However, there's no point chipping away at the broadcasters, because it's the Premier League who put these slots up to be bought for extensively big money. And whilst the clubs want a piece of that cake, a huge piece of that cake, they've got to understand how it's all going to be, carved up. And that 7:30 slot for us in the US, 12:30 in the UK, was a big slot that was fought over. Now, you know, you go and take that up with the Premier League. It's not an ideal scenario, but what do you want BT Sports to do? Put Sheffield United, West Brom in there. They need to have elite teams in that slot. Like Sky Sports need to have elite teams in the 4:30 slot or whatever it is tomorrow. These packages have been paid fortunes for. And it wasn't just football clubs that lost money during the pandemic. It was broadcasters as well. So everybody's fighting to try and get some of those finances back. And that means putting these teams in those positions. So if Jurgen Klopp and his chief executive and all these clubs that voted in favour and wanted to take the money have got a problem with it, they've got to go and see the Premier League, right? Because there's no point in saying to Sky and BT, well, you put us in the 12:30 spot. Well, who do you want to put in the 12:30 slot? You know, it's not easy. Somebody has to go in there. One of the elite teams has to go in there. And the more he pipes on about it, and this is the second or the third week, and it seems to be churning on, he's getting injuries, yes, but the players are hearing about it. The players are seeing him moan. The players are seeing him get exasperated. And maybe at some point that will filter through to them subconsciously. So I think he's just going to have to bite the bullet in this. I don't know the fixtures going ahead. I don't know how many times he's going to be in those slots or how many times it's going to be a problem for him. But the broadcasters have to put people in through the packages that they purchased. And it's their prerogative to do so.
Craig, I will follow you in a normal season with a normal life. Yep. But right now with the pandemic and we see that those teams like Liverpool, Manchester City, yep, Manchester United, Chelsea, they have to play in the and some in the Europa League. They have to play every week 2 games per week and no time to rest. So maybe in that pandemic time, maybe it would have been interesting from the broadcast and the EPL to discuss with all the boards from clubs to sort out maybe and arrange a better schedule for the team who are involved in those European competition play a lot to have, you know, maybe the preferences of the schedule. And maybe today, instead of playing... The problem is you... Go.
No, sorry.
Go.
But I know what you're saying. But the trouble is that you've got to go to the Premier League with this, because you can't just go to the broadcasters and say, look, you know, the players are tired. Can you bury them in a slot that your ratings are not going to get anywhere near what you would get? And they would say, well, sure, we can do that, but you're going to have to reduce the financial package and compensate us, because we've paid for that slot, which works for our network and our company.
Craig, I hear you. The only thing is, what the point to put today Sheffield United against I don't remember who is the other team.
West Brom, Frank.
The last
come on.
against West Brom. Sorry, West Brom today at 8 o'clock or 8 p.m. in England. Instead of, why don't you put Liverpool at that time and those 2 teams at 12, because they're not involved in European competition.
Because what might happen, I'm not 100% sure here, but the West Brom Sheffield United game may be a Sky Sports package, and you know maybe BT Sport didn't have that package, and they have the 12:30 lunchtime, 7:30 Eastern time here, so they had to drill that particular slot with an elite team, And so that it's super complicated. But if you want to ask the broadcasters to bury the Man Uniteds, the Liverpools, the Chelseas, the Arsenals, the Cities, and all these teams, if you want to bury them in slots that are going to get decent figures but are not going to rate as the prime time slots, and that's the reason these packages go for the millions that they do, then the Premier League are going to have to compensate the broadcasters. And so it is a really difficult scenario all round. And, you know, I think Jurgen Klopp's just going to have to bite the bullet on this one. It is unforeseen circumstances for everybody. Now, the Premier League clubs voted to restart the season on September the 12th. So they pretty much knew what was coming. And, you know, it's an unfortunate scenario of the pandemic and the situation we're in that players are picking up injuries. But let me tell you something.
Okay, I got it, Craig. I think, well, you won. Because I was seeing the sports part of the football, and clearly you see the economic part of the football, and you're right, you're absolutely right, because we talk about money, and money talks, and you win in that case, because it's true that club should have talked to the EPL instead of the broadcast, that's for sure.
The Premier League pay the biggest money for the rights globally and domestically. It is millions, if not billions of dollars. So money talks. The clubs are happy to take this money. They're making huge money. They're paying the players humongous salaries. Listen, I don't want to see, as a former player like you, Frank, players getting injured. But Virgil van Dijk apart, that injury was down to a horrific challenge from Jordan Pickford, which went unpunished, which was a horrendous decision. But all the injuries we're seeing are small muscle injuries. And whilst it's far from perfect, clearly, for managers and players, it's short-term injuries that can be fixed within 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 weeks. This is a situation that clubs, Dan, are just going to have to deal with because of the situation we are in. So there's no point piping up about broadcasters in time slots, because that is a real political minefield. And injuries are going to happen during this season. It's just which club are going to be able to deal with it the best.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.